Welcome everyone to another episode of Fate Grand Order 7 War Room. This is George Gale, and I'll be discussing how your favorite servant would handle an actual Holy Grail War. Because you never know, maybe one day you're walking down the street and BAM! Best girl is here!
これぞ我が伝説の一つ。我が肉体は鳥のごとく皆もう舞う。壇の浦発想飛び。
Ushiwakamaru is a 3-star rider servant released at the start of the game. While she has appeared in multiple events, her most iconic appearance is by far in Babylonia, where she showed her true value as a servant, as well as her character. She's also made some appearances in Fate Requiem. Look how happy she is! But how good would she be in an actual Holy Grail War? She has two types of personalities that you'll have to manage: her out-of-combat persona and her in-combat persona. Her out-of-combat persona is cheerful, likes to play pranks, extremely loyal and adorable, but also composed while being wild. It might be difficult to understand what that means, but essentially she will try to keep an air of composure to her. However, whenever there is a goal that needs to be achieved, this is where her wildness and recklessness will show up. Ushiwakamaru is the type to take the shortest and fastest path possible to reach a goal. And while she won't disobey you, you can expect her to make impulsive decisions quite often. Is the type that speaks with her actions rather than her voice. In combat though, her persona is cold and calm. Perhaps the description of a dog is indeed the most accurate. While to the owner she shows unconditional love, the moment an enemy shows up, it's murdering time. Common sense does not apply to her, and she clearly has a missing screw. Don't be surprised if she comes running at you all happy with a wagging tail while dragging a few heads of the enemies with her. While in general most people will be fine with Ushiwakamaru, I do expect that as the war progresses, many will start having headaches and frustrations over Ushiwakamaru due to her impulsive behaviors, which are difficult to control since they show up out of nowhere. Ushiwakamaru's stats are impressive. While her strength and endurance are on the normal side for her riders, her agility is completely bananas. As for her skills, Ushiwakamaru has 5 skills, an average number for a rider. Riding, rank A+. Ushiwakamaru can ride practically anything with the exception of dragons, which is weird since Ushiwakamaru doesn't even have a mount. Magic resistance, rank C. While not the highest of ranks, as per usual, will provide good resistances against most magecraft thrown at her, leaving casters in the common position of worst class. Tengo's Art of War, rank A. This skill is a bit unique as it technically has two sides to it. First of all, Ushiwakamaru has been taught the art of combat through multiple weapons at close combat by Tengos, a creature superior to humans, meaning that her skill in close combat is above human by default. The second part though is the weird one. Apparently, it provides bonuses to other skills such as tactics and magic resistance. Now, Ushiwakamaru doesn't have tactics, so that's not relevant, but she has magic resistance, so I'm not sure what this bonus is. Does this mean that her magic resistance is actually stronger than rank C? Not sure. However, one thing is certain, it's the casters have it really rough. Charisma, rank C+. Ushiwakamaru improves the general performance of those fighting with her. Feet of the Swallow, rank B. Ushiwakamaru is extremely nimble, and with her high agility you can expect her to be jumping around the enemy like an annoying insect that refuses to get caught. Finally, we have her Noble Phantoms, which she has 6 of. Yes, you heard me right, she has 6 of them. Despite their high number, they are actually very simple Noble Phantoms. So let's start. Eye of Shiva, detecting the 6 secret teachings. It is a teleportation Noble Phantom. When used, Ushiwakamaru can move an army around the battlefield. Uzi Midori, short steps with a heavenly blade. This is the slash you see her use constantly against Gorgon. It's an extremely fast strike that's difficult to avoid. As seen in her fight with Gorgon, she can pull out very quickly to cut the snakes to bits. Benkei, steadfast position. Ushiwakamaru can summon a copy of Benkei that will function as a meat shield for her, blocking an incoming attack. The more faith she has in Benkei, the sturdier the body is. At its max potential, it can even block a rank B anti-army Noble Phantom. That's quite an impressive feat. Danora, 8-boat, leap. This is her more iconic Noble Phantom, the one you see being used in FGO. It's a self-buffing Noble Phantom that increases Ushiwakamaru's jumping ability and her agility, allowing her to truly recreate her jumping on boat's feet. No matter how little the foothold might be, if she can get even a tiny bit, she can leap to unimaginable lengths. This is best visualized in her fight against Gorgon, where she is jumping around Gorgon's body and even on the sliced pieces of the snakes. This Noble Phantom can also allow Ushiwakamaru to create 7 copies of herself. These copies are less agile and will disappear if they take damage. However, they are still able to do damage to others, meaning that they work well for overwhelming enemies as well as distracting them. Uemara, Spider Slayer. It's an AoE anti-demonic attack. It only works on demonic enemies, so in general shouldn't be usable, but you never know what happens in a Holy Grail War. Kikenjo, Icicle Cutting. And last but not least, it's what you see when she spins around. It's a simple attack that allows Ushiwakamaru to easily clear the path. Overall, Ushiwakamaru has an impressive arsenal, and while she might be lacking a bit on the firepower, she clearly makes it up for in dueling and versatility. One of the most agile servants. To describe Ushiwakamaru as agile would be an understatement. Ushiwakamaru is by far one of the most agile servants summonable, on par if not even better than Achilles. While she's not the fastest of servants, her agility to simply jump around the battlefield and enemies can make her one of the most difficult servants to catch. Loyal. Ushiwakamaru is loyal to a fault. Unless you treat her really bad, you have nothing to worry about her. Even if you were to betray her, she would still come back to you with a wagging tail. Truly a dog's mentality of unconditional love. Exceptional duelist. Ushiwakamaru's skills and high range of Noble Phantoms make her a terrifying duelist. Not only that, most of Noble Phantoms do not even require her to actually stop and use them like other servants need to. Ushiwakamaru can just be fighting an enemy and casually pull out one of her many techniques, catching the enemies by surprise. Lack of firepower. While Ushiwakamaru might have good one-on-one capabilities, her ability to take out large enemies or even groups is lacking. High defenses would also be difficult to deal with, and in showdowns of Noble Phantoms, Ushiwakamaru's only option is to move out of the way. Weak to assassination. Ushiwakamaru might be hard to catch, but you, the master, is a different story. Not only that, the worst situation Ushiwakamaru could be in is in a defensive position, where she has to protect you from someone else. Remember, Ushiwakamaru's best trait is her ability to move around. If she's forced to stay put to protect you, she's essentially a sitting duck. Too impulsive. I will now read you an excerpt from her page in Fate Grand Order Material 1 book. If the master is vexed about if that enemy's ship is usable, Ushiwakamaru will head towards the ship, visibly like a gale, while saying, "Master, please leave the decisions to me." A few minutes later, she would inform the master about the ship and say, "Master, this way to the ship." However, except for the sailors operating the ship, everyone will be completely dealing with the scene of carnage called being bound for the netherworld. Ushiwakamaru's impulsive decisions will in many cases be random and out of the blue, leaving you with little to say on the matter. you will need to be extra careful with what you say, as any random off-the-cuff comment will be taken literal and she'll act upon it with all the good intentions. Low status. Ushiwakamaru is all skill, no flash. This means that in a war, it's unlikely that enemies will target Ushiwakamaru, since there's bound to be flashier servants in the war. Just make sure she doesn't use her clone's Noble Phantom too early to keep her unnoticed. Surprisingly good against summoner types. One would think that Ushiwakamaru would be weak against summons and large enemies, since she lacks the firepower. But as it turns out, Ushiwakamaru's ability is on such a ridiculous level that it allows her to traverse the summons and large enemies like they're platforms, allowing her to essentially skip through the cannon folder and head straight for the summoner. To start off, set up some rules and boundaries. Ushiwakamaru is loyal to a fault, and any order you give her, she will act upon it without question. This also means that you have to be more careful with how you phrase things. Avoid orders such as "don't kill anyone without my permission," as she'll literally do that and wait for your permission to kill anything, even if that ends up killing her. In my case, rather than an order, I would simply tell her, "I don't want innocent people to get killed because of the war." This should prevent the boat situation where she kills everyone except the sailors, but should still give her some freedom to change that if she realizes that they are enemies working for another master. However, this will ultimately depend on the war that you're in. Just be careful not to give her absolute orders, or it can lead you to some unpredictable situations. Once you've set up boundaries, you'll want to target both archer and assassin. Ushiwakamaru does not deal well in defensive battles, so you'll need to bring the fight to archer and assassin and take them out, ideally assassin first. One good saying about Ushiwakamaru is that despite her cheerful personality, she has no issues in ignoring the servant and going for the master. And thanks to her incredible agility, she should be able to split through a servant's guard and straight for the master. This, however, also means that you'll need to be careful with yourself, as sending Ushiwakamaru for a master will leave you exposed. This is why going for archer and assassin first is a priority. In my case, what I would do is tell Ushiwakamaru to only use half her agility when fighting a servant for the first time, much like Cuckoo Lane did in Face Day Night. While this is risky, she would still have access to all her other tools if need be. Then I would have her go around the city to find other servants and fight them. I would specifically order her that this is only for sizing up the enemy and gathering information, and that if at any moment she senses that the battle is heading for a death match, to back away immediately. Even with half agility, she should still be able to escape an enemy. This should get you a lot of good information on the enemy servants, while also providing inaccurate information to the enemy. Doing this should keep you on the radar, much like Cuckoo Lane kept himself. Unlike him, Ushiwakamaru will have no issues or complaints about doing this. After this, it will depend on the situation of the war. You can very easily send Ushiwakamaru to take out masters of powerful servants if they are vulnerable, but you can also relax and wait for others to take each other out since you're not a high priority target. In combat, Ushiwakamaru is ridiculously difficult to deal with. We're looking essentially at a Medusa versus Saber Alta. Only Ushiwakamaru is even more agile and has more tricks to her. Not only that, in most situations you could very easily have Ushiwakamaru blitz through the enemy and go straight for the master, putting the servant in a losing position. Ushiwakamaru's clones and ability to jump makes her capable of going for all blind spots and even overwhelming enemies who would normally be too tanky for her. Add in her ability to teleport people around and her defensive Noble Phantom and you're looking at one of the most flexible servants summonable. Not only that, she has high intelligence and is in general a genius, meaning that by herself with a passive master, she can already be one of the most dangerous servants in a war. But in the hands of a competent master who can give her good orders and commands, we're looking at a chess piece that can take out any piece on the board while also immediately retreating back to safety without any other chess piece being a threat. In addition, her in general non-flashy style will keep her in low status so long as you have a good leash on her, meaning that you have potentially one of the strongest servants in the war, but that everyone thinks she's nothing special. Add in her loyalty and in general good disposition, to say that Ushiwakamaru is a desirable servant is an understatement. While she might have some bad matchups, Ushiwakamaru simply has too many good matchups. As such, I'll give her the rank EX. So long as you keep a low status until someone or you yourself take out Assassin and Archer, any normal war should be simple to win. Even more powerful servants can be taken out by simply going for the masters. So long as Ushiwakamaru is on the offensive and not on defense, there's very little the enemies can actually do outside of there being broken noble phantoms like Cuckoo Lanes or Chirons. And that was Ushiwakamaru. To be honest, as much as I might like Ushiwakamaru, I came into this video thinking about her around rank A or maybe B. However, the more I looked at her tools and skills, the more her fight with Gorgon just made sense. While in most FGO fight scenes, servants are fighting at their best, showing skills and abilities that in a normal Holy Grail War they would have a hard time showing. In the case of Ushiwakamaru, what you saw with Gorgon is how she'll be in every fight in a Holy Grail War. She'll be practically impossible to catch, jumping around buildings and walls as if it's a playground. Even when noble phantoms being deployed, she will be moving around so much that it will be impossible to aim at her, meaning that unless there's a sure hit noble phantom like Cuckoo Lanes or Chirons, there's very little options for servants to take her out. She even has a Benkei meat shield to save her from incoming homing missiles. As far as Ushiwakamaru goes, her only true weakness is her master. This means that if you get her, whether you win or lose is entirely on your hands. It will all come down to how well you can keep yourself hidden while Ushiwakamaru is doing her thing. But anyway, thank you for the suggestion, Just Drake. If you enjoy my content, leave a like and subscribe. Also, comment down below on which servants you would like to see next. I've noticed some viewers asking for some servants that have only been released in the Japanese version. If possible, keep your suggestions to NA only, as many of the GP servants still aren't fully translated and have skills and abilities that aren't fully explained. But anyway, until next time, bye.